If you're in sales, one of the toughest things about your job is knowing who to call back next and where to focus your time. Not to mention knowing and juggling the next step that's going to be very different for any one of your 2 dozen or 200 leads that you're managing at any given time. It can really create a sense of overwhelm. So I want to share a tip that I've been using for a number of years that really kind of breaks the sales process down into a consistent step-by-step process so that you're never overwhelmed and you always know exactly what to do next with each prospect. Now, I've talked about this before when I've given CRM tips, but I really want to go through the whole end-to-end process. So the reason that you potentially feel overwhelmed is that you're kind of viewing all leads as just leads. And what you really want to do is you want to create a consistent sales process that you know every single lead has to go through. Now, I understand that each person's going to have a different set of questions and different objections, and even different decision makers might be involved. So you may be sitting there thinking that it's not an apples to apples deal, that every prospect is different. But what I want to tell you is that all sales go through the same milestones. And if you think about them as phases instead of just steps, then it starts to become a little bit more realistic for you. So I know that every prospect that I deal with in any business is going to go through the same steps. Now, the steps may be different for your business than my business, but we both have steps. So let me give you an example. So in the beginning, I have an unqualified lead. Now, at some point, I have to talk to that person about their cost and where they are with their business, what their budget is, and really qualify that, A, they can afford and are ready to buy my services, and B, that my services are actually going to make an impact on their business. Now, once that prospect's qualified, I then need to match them with a certain product or service that I want to recommend for them. We need to actually create a proposal and give that proposal to them. There's probably going to be some kind of step where I walk them through the proposal, answer all the questions they have, and then ultimately I'm going to need to convert that prospect into a customer and close the deal. And so if you can imagine, to oversimplify the process, a whiteboard basically segmented into all of the chunks to close a sale. So here's a quick little example like this. Now, I heard about this at a conference many years ago before CRMs were completely commonplace. And this sales team was doing very well by having these whiteboards in everybody's office. And the sales manager required all the salespeople to list all of their prospects and come in every single day and move them from, do whatever they could to move them from one step to the next. And then once you got there, you would basically reevaluate and say, how do I move them from the second step to the third step? So today we don't use whiteboards. Today we're using CRMs, and we're probably tagging each customer with steps. There's a number of ways to do this. But I think the whiteboard analogy really drives the point home and helps you understand the process end to end. Now, you may have two different prospects that are both in the qualified bucket, and you're trying to move them over to the proposal bucket. Now, what you need to do for each one of those prospects may be very different, but at least you know what the next step is, and you've got some kind of consistency in your process. This can really prevent the overwhelm, as you can imagine. So you don't just come in and say, what do I do today? You basically take the leads that are closest all the way to the right of the whiteboard or in your CRM in the latest step possible, and you say, how do I convert this proposal into a closed customer? And once you're done with all of that, then you basically want to take a step back and say, how do I take all my qualified customers and get them to the proposal phase? Now again, these are just my oversimplified phases. The better segmented, the more granular you can get, the more effective your salespeople are going to be. And of course, I understand this looks a lot like the marketing funnel or the sales funnel that gets so much attention. But I just really like the left to right activity of a whiteboard as an analogy to really focus your salespeople so they know who to focus on first and what to do with every single open prospect that they're working on. So I hope that was helpful. Set up your CRM. You can easily create tags or categories or buckets, and you can even do the old-fashioned way and go ahead and get one of those big whiteboards and put them in your office. It'll definitely be more effective than simply coming in every day, looking at 100 leads and not knowing where to start next.